Tonight, the U.S. Army is responding to our exclusive CBS News investigation into sexual assault in the military and acknowledging they must do better. Over the past year and a half, we spoke to nearly 24 survivors from all branches of the service who say their allegations were brushed aside or even met with retaliation. Well, tonight, we talked with 4 soldiers who say the military's program to combat sexual assault is broken and that the Pentagon shouldn't be allowed to police itself.
We're supposed to feel safe with our brothers and sisters in the military, and they're the ones hurting us.
Mei-Ling Jerez was among nearly 24 survivors who spoke to CBS News about their alleged assaults. She was raped the first night in her barracks, and she reported it.
Did they take it seriously?
No, they didn't. They said that I was a distraction that came into their platoon.
You were raped a second time, a year later.
This officer arrived at my home and said he needed to search my home. And after I let him in, I was violently raped. Even though I was bleeding, I had bruises, the proof was on my body, and yet I didn't think it was going to be enough.
Sarah Jawakam-Staller says she was sexually assaulted during a training exercise last year by a soldier who outranked her.
Were you afraid at first to report it?
Yes. If you're a specialist and you report a commander or even just a senior sergeant, then it's really just point blank, like you don't have the rank to put forth the fight.
Only 1 in 4 service members who are sexually assaulted actually report the crime. Many, like Armando Perez, don't.
This leader of mine took me under his wing. He groomed me so that he could abuse me. He also was the prevention officer who I would have to report it to.
The person you would have had to report it to was the person who was doing it to you?
He was a prevention officer. So I had to sit there, and whenever he would do the presentations for prevention and just be embarrassed and ashamed that he was the person who was doing it to me.
We took a look at the military's data since 2015. Despite an increase in reporting, fewer sexual assault cases are being sent to court-martial, and convictions are dropping. Shauna Culp says she was raped in 2010. She reported it, but her case didn't make it through the military justice system until this year.
By the time it finally got to a court-martial, your rape kit had been destroyed.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It was just frustrating because you put up with all this and you try to get something done, and by the time that it finally gets done, it's like just close enough.
And just close enough because at the court-martial, your assailant was acquitted because only 5 said he was guilty, and you needed 6?
That was still a majority of the people. So I feel like everything is set up against you no matter what.
Survivors told us what came after the assault was often worse than the assault itself.
I faced immediate and consistent retaliation.
After you reported your assault, you were stripped of your rank.
Yes, ma'am. They were trying to break me down. They just go after you because you're the victim and you're the problem.
How many of you think there needs to be something massive that happens, like a Me Too movement for the military?
All branches across the board, all of us need to be able to feel like we can speak up and that you're never alone.
When you compare it to other traumatic events that happen to people, whether it's a shooting or combat, you're experiencing that with other people. So you know visually and physically that you are not alone. When a rape or a sexual assault occurs, it's happening to you alone. And when I saw more people reporting it and more people speaking on it, I stopped feeling as alone.
That was so beautifully said. It's like the loneliest trauma that you can experience.
It's this shame that you carry, and it's this anger and embarrassment that you carry with yourself, but it's not yours to carry. It belongs to the abuser that did it to you.
Well, after declining our request for an interview, the U.S. Army is just tonight responding to allegations made by survivors and their families. In a new video, Army Secretary Ryan McCarthy says, quote, "If we do not have the trust of America, nothing else matters."
I am deeply saddened and concerned by the recent news reports of how sexual assault and sexual harassment have plagued our force and brought harm to our soldiers. This topic has captivated the attention of America and our Army leaders. And it is abundantly clear we must do better.
And that is new just tonight. McCarthy promising to unveil a new plan of action by December 8th and admits that the Army's current program to combat sexual assault isn't working. Well, tomorrow on CBS This Morning, we'll hear from victims' advocates hired by the military who agree and say the Pentagon ignored their concerns as well.